Hello, students. I will be continuing to read A History of Britain, the Romans. This is part 2. So we left off at Hadrian's Wall. Now we will be learning about Roman roads. The Romans built many roads. The legionaries did all the work, digging out the trenches, cutting the stones to shape, and laying them. A curved surface and ditches at the side made sure that the rain ran off the road and did not wash the stones away. Remains of a Roman road in Yorkshire. Milestone. Roman surveyors used an instrument called a groma. Strings with weights were hung from a wooden frame so that the surveyor could get a straight line by looking through them. Where trees or hills were in the way, the surveyors built fires in a straight line and used the smoke to mark the route. Chalk, sand, and broken brick. Ditch, surface made from shaped flat stones or gravel. Strong base of shaped stones, chalk, and sand. So you can see the layers here, kids. So you can see at the bottom you've got chalk and sand, and then going up they have a base of stone, and then they have more of chalk, sand, and broken brick. And then on the top they have the beautiful stones. The surface is made from flat stones or gravel. And then they've made a ditch on the side. So it's very well thought out and includes many layers. So it's amazing that Roman remains of Roman roads still exist today. Next page, Roman towns. From about AD 150 onwards, the Romans built walls around their towns to keep them safe from attack. Strongly built towns helped to keep peace and showed Roman Britons how a good Roman life could be. An aqueduct brought clean water to the town. Lead pipes carried the water underground to the houses. The streets were straight and laid out in the pattern of a chessboard. Some people lived in blocks of flats. Later, more comfortable houses were built. The only Roman amphitheatre left in Britain at Caerleon, Gwent in Wales. People came to the towns to buy and sell goods, to pay their taxes, and to enjoy themselves. This illustration is based on the Roman town of Silchester, Hampshire. The most important buildings, such as the law courts, were in the center of the town, built around the main square called the Forum. Some large towns had amphitheaters. Sewers ran underground. The baths. Romans went to the baths to keep clean, relax, meet their friends, and to exercise. Women and men bathed at separate times of the day. Changing rooms, food and wine, massage room, tepidarium, gymnasium. Clothes were left in a changing room. Calidarium, a very hot sweat bath. Tepidarium is a warm bath. Food and wine were sold. The Roman baths at Bath. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Bath Spa, but it's quite interesting that they were able to revive this bath that was a Roman bath. So you can actually go and pay a fee and go to the Roman baths that are located in Bath Spa in England. So I've been lucky enough to have been to Bath, and it's very cool. They had a massage room and a gymnasium for exercise. In the house, rich Romans and Roman Britons lived in the towns in fine houses which were built in the Roman style. They had plaster walls, tiles. Walls were decorated with paintings or painted panels. Bedrooms, all the hard work was done by slaves. The floors were covered with mosaics, pictures, or patterns made from tiny pieces of colored marble stuck in cement. The remains of the central heating system at Chedworth Villa, Gloucester. Sitting room. Hot air from a fire in the cellar passed under the floor and up the walls to heat the house. The central heating system was called a hypocaust. Oh, and then they had a kitchen and a toilet and a sewer. So, food in a rich household. The kitchen stove was an open hearth filled with charcoal. Most of the cooking pots were made of pottery, although some were iron. The burning charcoal must have made the kitchen very hot for the slaves who were getting the food ready. The kitchen slaves washed the vegetables and herbs in a stone sink. Baking was very difficult because there was no oven in the house, so bread, cakes, and puddings were usually bought from a baker. So, Roman kitchen objects. Spices were pounded with a pestle and mortar. Turnips, snails fattening in milk, peas, carrots, open hearth, amphora for holding olive oil, quern, Roman spoons. A feast. Most people were too poor to buy fish or meat. They ate mainly porridge, green vegetables, and pancakes, washed down with watered wine. Guests who were invited to a feast in a rich person's house lay on couches and ate with their fingers. Slaves cut up the meat for them, served out the food, and brought round bowls of water so that the guests could wash their hands between courses. Poets and musicians provided entertainment. This is what a feast in a rich Roman household may have looked like. Slave carving meat, oil lamp, pipes, stringed instrument called a cithara, guests who washed their hands between courses. The first course was raw vegetables, eggs, shellfish, stuffed dormice. Second course, boiled meat, roast meat, doves, chicken, pork, and roast boar. Third course, fruit, honey cakes, spiced loaf, and stuffed dates. What people wore. Women wore sleeveless tunics made from linen or cotton, or if they were very rich, silk. They wore colored shawls over their tunics and as much jewelry as they could afford. Hairstyles were often quite elaborate. Men wore togas, loose robes made from the best wool if they were rich, or from coarse cloth if they were poor. Togas could be any color, but officials usually wore white togas decorated with a colored stripe to show that the wearer was an important person. Here you see female slaves wore simple tunics. There's a shawl there. Most Romans wore boots or sandals. They had a toga, so you'd put on a toga in different steps. Here's the toga of a Roman citizen. Slaves wore simple tunics made of coarse cloth or felt. School. Only the children of rich parents went to school, starting at about the age of 7. They left primary school at the age of 12. Boys went on to secondary school, but girls, who were allowed to marry at the age of 12, usually stopped going to school or had a home tutor. The lessons were dull, with lots of copying and learning by heart. Schoolmasters were very strict, and some beat their pupils. Maths was taught with an abacus. Pupils wrote on wooden boards spread with wax. They wrote in the wax with the point of a bronze or wooden stylus and rubbed out mistakes with the flattened end. The wax was smoothed and used many times. The school day began at dawn and lasted about 6 hours, with a midday break for the pupils to eat their picnic lunch. As the Romans had no weekends, the pupils had to work for 7 days before they had a day off for market day. Schools were very small, just one teacher with a class of 10 pupils. Young children learned reading, writing, and maths. Older children learned grammar, history, geography, and how to speak well in public. Religion. The Romans brought their own religion to Britain. They worshipped many gods and goddesses in the new temples that they built. There was no special day for worship, so people went to the temple whenever they wanted and spoke to the god's statue to give thanks or to ask for a favor. Many emperors were worshipped as gods after they died. This is a model of the Temple of Claudius, which was built at Colchester, Essex, about AD 54.